And in this last lesson of the character texturing tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the sweater texture here. And I'm just going to basically use, a photo that I took from a piece of clothing that I have and just brought it in to create the end of the sweater here. And I simply just repeated it. I think it was 4 or 5 times, and I'm just, selecting where on the UV map that it ends to go ahead and texture the model, or where I want it to end, and then I'll just delete everything off of it, everything else off of it. And the key with texturing is, you want to get high quality textures to go ahead and texture your model. You definitely don't want to use low resolution textures to texture your model. The higher the resolution, the better the actual texture is going to be. As you can see, we did, use 4096 maps, and this is good because it gives us enough resolution for texturing our character. I would scale them down whenever it went to render, and that's just to save, memory and render time. But if you use and paint on a higher texture map, it's just easier. And as you can see, I'm just going to continue to use the polygonal lasso tool here to mark off what I want to save or use, and I'll go ahead and do that on the other side here as well. I'm just trying to be careful of what I select to highlight and then delete everything off, everything on the inverse side of the texture. And I'm leaving myself a little bit of extra so that I can, use the liquify tool and adjust it as needed. I'll go ahead and select the inverse here and basically delete it. And I'm just looking there to see if it's going to work properly, and we'll just go ahead and update this in Maya to take a look at it. And that looks okay. It's not too bad. It needs a little bit of editing. selected the wrong layer there to go ahead and use the liquify tool on. I'm just trying to add a little bit of shadow here with the layer style into the model so that I can try to get a little bit of depth in the texture. It's definitely way too much, so I had to back that down a little bit. And that didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, so I just cancel it, and let's go ahead and adjust with the UV map and adjust the texture to fit the UV map a little bit properly, and it should be fine. It definitely has to go up in some areas. The color definitely has to get adjusted a little bit. And I'm just using the liquify tool here to adjust the texture to be placed a little bit better. The liquify tool is definitely, in my opinion, the best tool that Photoshop has. It just makes it much easier to adjust the textures as needed. It's much easier, much faster than anything else. And as you can see, I just adjust it and then I'll check it, and then if it needs it, you know, adjust it again, check it again, just to try and make it work properly and make sure it's right. It still needs a little bit of fixing, and that's fine. I can just, you know, continually fix it in Photoshop and just update it as needed. And we'll go back to the liquify tool here and adjust it where it needs adjusted. And since it doesn't need much, I mean, it's going to be a quick one here. And before this tutorial is over, I do want to give a big thanks to CG Touch Plus, especially Ben Tate and the rest of the guys over at CG Touch Plus for allowing me to go ahead and do this tutorial. It was definitely a lot of fun, a lot of work, but in the end, I mean, we created something that's, you know, really cool looking. And I'm just adjusting the color and the saturation here to try and make it fit better, to match better, and it's just those small adjustments that'll, you know, make the character what it is in the end. And I think we're just about ready to go ahead and render our character with a little more texture adjustment. And of course, I mean, it's all up to each individual how much you want to, you know, adjust the texture or adjust the model and continually fix it. But like I said, at some point you have to say, hey, enough's enough, you know, and then just call it a day. Because you can't be continually editing a model for, you know, 6 months. It just takes time to go ahead and get your character the way that you want it. And I'm just gonna simply do it here with the UV adjustment, and I'll just move it down, and I'll just call it a day. And I'm just selecting the faces where I need them and the faces that I need, and I'll just go ahead and pull them down and then just call it a day here. I'm doing it carefully because I don't want to cause too much of a texture stretch. It is okay to go ahead and edit the UV like that there, but you don't want to do it every time. You want to try to avoid that. And you can see that it still needs a little bit of adjustment, and that's fine. I can do the rest of that in Photoshop or with the UV tool here. And we're looking, you know, we're looking pretty good there. And I think we're pretty much close to getting ready to go ahead and render. I'm just looking at my UV map to see what's going on there, and as you can see, it's a little off, so I have to adjust that. I'm just double checking there, and I think we're okay. I think we'll call that a texture. And there we go. The character texturing is pretty much done, and we're ready to go ahead and render the model. Thanks for watching.